Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining Neovites Hidden Gems, The Power of Proctoring, hosted by me, Alan Mayer, Business Account Manager with Neovation, and co-hosted with Chris Wood, Technical Account Manager with Neovation. This session will be recorded, so we will be handing off the records to all attendees and registrants as well. And you're also able to request a download of this at any point in time as well. So my name again is Alan Mayer. Just want to talk a little bit about my role as the business account manager. My role typically is to answer any inquiries about our customers who have agreements with us, any inquiries about the services that we offer. I also do some very proactive reach outs to all our clients on a quarterly basis. Chris Wood, technical account manager, I'm going to let him explain a little bit about what his role is.
Thanks, Alan. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, my name is Chris Wood, for those of you that I have not met or worked with yet. And my role as technical account manager is assisting our clients with any of the technical aspects of SmarterU. We help introduce clients to new features available within their account, assist them with implementing their SmarterU account, and just make sure to keep them informed on any of those new features as they're starting to come out. And I also lead our support team. So our support team is there to help assist and be part of that industry leading support for our clients.
Thank you, Chris. So today's topic again is proctoring. So what is proctoring? Well, proctoring is a testing overseen by an authorized neutral proctor who ensures the identity of the test taker and the integrity of the test taking environment. So who requires proctoring? Universities and colleges very often require a level of proctoring. Federal, state, and provincial requirements may require proctoring. Certification agencies such as Oracle, MS, and internal company requirements may require proctoring as well. There are three main types of proctoring. The traditional live in-person or even online proctoring, and recorded proctoring, and advanced automated proctoring. Live in-person or online proctoring, this is where a qualified proctor monitors the candidates either in person or through live audio and video feeds. Proctors are trained to ensure the authenticity of the candidate and look for red flags, suspicious eye, facial movements, really in essence, making sure they're not cheating. If suspicious circumstances arise, the proctor can shut down the test or notify the company or organization. Recorded proctoring, this is where records the candidate during the exam. The recording is played back by a proctor to look for any suspicious activity during the course of the exam. So it doesn't really require the proctor to be present. The exam taker will actually be recording themselves, and then it's reviewed after the fact. So SmarterU offers a built-in proctoring. And to cover off how we handle these first two scenarios of the three, I'm going to hand it over to Chris to show how it's handled within a SmarterU environment.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alan. So first, I'd like to take a look at, as Alan mentioned, our built-in SmarterU proctoring. So SmarterU offers proctoring of our online courses. It allows you to have quizzes within your courses that are proctored. And by proctored, it means it needs some sort of other user to be able to monitor users while they're going through. So oftentimes learners will be presented with a scenario like we're looking at here. So I've logged in as a learner, I'm going through my exam. I have an introduction slide giving me details of maybe what to expect when I get into my exam. As I continue through, I'm going to be stopped at a point where I need to actually present my proctoring. And let me just go back to that page so that I can open it up again, as it skipped me right through. And as a learner, let me open up As the administrator, let me open up the page where it sees those proctor codes that a user will need to be presented with. So I've created my exam, and I want learners to be prompted with the code before they can actually enter that exam piece. You'll see here, I have what's called the proctor report, where I can run and see a list of all of the different enrollments into any of the exams that are being proctored. And for every single enrollment, I will have a unique proctor code. This code needs to be entered for the user when they reach that exam portion of their course. This proctor report can be exported. So in the past, when we saw more in-person proctoring, oftentimes instructors or proctors would have printed their proctor report ahead of time. And they're able to then bring that with them as they're monitoring students that get to the exam portion of their course. They can then enter this proctor code. This report again can be exported, run at any time, filtered down to see just specific enrollments where I can grab that proctor code and enter it for learners so that they can continue on into their exam. Alan, back to you.
Perfect. Sorry, slight delay there. I'm bringing back my screen. So in our third type of proctoring is we have the advanced automated proctoring. So this requires no manual intervention, records the activities of the candidate while monitoring the feed for red flags using advanced audio and video analytics. So with SmartU, we've actually partnered with Integrity Advocate, who provides this advanced automated proctoring service. So Integrity Advocate is an innovative hybrid option that combines the best features of live and automated proctoring. Human reviewers leverage artificial intelligence to guide them to potential violations. So again, the background monitors this piece and the automation piece. So, but again, it's reviewed by human element. So IA never allows a machine technology to make the final decision, giving reviewers the power to show discretion when needed. So further reviewed by human folks. Offers customized rules set for identity verification. So for example, require a student ID or government issued ID. So you can set up these specific rules and verification of ID, what's allowed, allows resources. So for example, no resources allowed, or open book, but it's still being proctored, but you're allowed X number of resources. You can set all of that up through customized pieces, and what is allowed for human behavior. These sessions through Integrity Advocate can be purchased as low as $7 per session. However, there is a minimum 500 session investment requirement with this. So I'd like to hand it back over to Chris to show us how Integrity Advocate is integrated within SmartU and how the automated or the advanced automated proctoring service works.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Alan. So let's jump over to Integrity Advocate. So our integrated proctoring service is much more in depth than the one we looked at earlier. You're going to notice as a learner, which I'm signed in as now, I'm going to go through a process at the beginning where my exam is going to verify my identity, both by taking a picture of myself and also a picture of my ID. I have turned off my camera while working through this demo because the proctoring service is quite complicated and will recognize if I am also sharing my video through another service. So I want to make sure that I can go through this proper demo now. So let's jump into an exam. As a learner, again, I can be introduced, have some demo or some instruction slides at the beginning that help a learner understand the information and what's going to be expected of them as they get into the exam. IA proctoring means that it's going to proctor the quiz task within my online course. So I can have a proctored course or a proctored exam that has a large element that's not proctored. Some of the content, a bunch of the information, the instruction slides. Then I will become proctored once I get into the actual exam. So let's jump in now. So yeah, as you'll see here, right away, the user experience is throwing me into the overlay for Integrity Advocate. I'm presented with some information. You can see that I'm going to be asked to verify my identity, and then I'm going to be monitored while I'm going through. For this integration, it's also asking me for a government issued photo identification, which will let me show that ID as I'm going. So let's begin. I'm going to review the privacy policy that's presented for me and jump right into taking some pictures. So again, nice presentation to the learner about what to expect, giving me instructions on how to take my picture. You can see my face again as I move into the picture to take a photo. With Integrity Advocate, we do allow users to take additional photos if they're not happy with the one they've taken, if their face is not quite in the box yet, but I can also submit and process when I'm ready. Next is the ID. So government issued photo ID. This ID is going to be used during the proctoring process on Integrity Advocate side to prove I am who I say I am. It's going to be matching the name on my ID to my user profile name within SmarterU to make sure that everything lines up and I actually am Chris Wood taking this exam. So let's take a quick picture of my ID for everyone and submit that. Now, when it's going through, it is taking those pictures and saving them for later. If the Integrity Advocate proctoring service sees a blurry image on my ID or a blurry image maybe when I took a picture of my face, at the end of the exam, it will prompt the user to resubmit those pictures. So while I am being proctored during the exam for different pieces, and you can see some of the rules that are presented for the learner here, staying engaged with the session, remaining in the view of the camera, not talking to other people like I am doing right now. If there's an issue with any of those pictures that were taken ahead of time, the Integrity Advocate integration will prompt me at the end to try and resubmit those pictures. So if I continue and I've seen my notes, you'll see here that the little image of my video is presented to me so I can see the image and the video that Integrity Advocate is recording. During my proctoring session as well, IA will be taking some pictures of the different things that I'm doing. So right now, because I'm communicating and talking with all of you, Integrity Advocate will be flagging this as the participant is communicating with someone else, and it could be in violation of the proctoring depending on the different requirements that were set up. So once I complete my exam, again, I can be prompted to resubmit photos if I need to be, and then I'll be taken to the final page where my exam is waiting for the IA proctoring to confirm submission. At that point, Integrity Advocate is automatically checking my video to make sure that no flags had been warned or drawn based on what I was doing during the exam. It's checking to make sure that, again, my ID matches the profile ID that was submitted back to Integrity Advocate. And there's a number of different pieces and rules that can be put in place around all of that validation. As a learner, I will receive notification through email telling me if I've passed the proctoring piece and have then completed the exam, or if there was an issue maybe with the image that I submitted on my ID or the image that I took at the beginning to show who I am, those can be resubmitted as well afterwards to allow you to prove your identity and finalize the proctoring side of it. Now, really quickly, the Integrity Advocate proctoring has two sides to this integration. So we looked at the learner side, but let's take a quick look at the admin side as well. We have a built-in admin tool in Integrity Advocate that's going to allow me to see details of any of the proctored sessions that I have. So I was just doing that IA proctoring, proctored summer products exam, but previously I completed a few different ones. And you'll see here information on the enrollments that I had gone through, and I can also, as an admin, see the details that were submitted during that exam. So, this user, myself, flagged for a number of different things because I was talking while I was doing it, I was moving around, all things that shouldn't be happening during a proctored session. But one of the great pieces on the Integrity Advocate proctoring is I also have the ability to override these sessions. So for this user here, they were marked as an invalid proctored session based on those rules that we were just looking at, where they were talking and different pieces like this. But I am able to override sessions to say, no, you know what, that was valid for different reasons. And I can submit an override to allow that proctored session to be considered a pass and be valid for their enrollment, and let them to complete their course. So the learner side, as well as some admin side, that allows you to tie this integration all together for your users. Back to you, Alan.
Thank you, Chris. I'm going to go back to my screen share here. So while that's loading up here, Chris, we did get a question here, and if I understand correctly, who hosts the live recorded proctoring for the Integrity if Integrity Advocate isn't? So I believe this is in the SmartU environment outside of Integrity Advocate. So if we're talking about being in a live session, which can be in the either in person proctored, which is typically someone that is arranged through that organization, or even from the video side of things. Chris, can you talk a little bit about how some of our customers are utilizing the video, or even for that matter, how they might be able to do a recorded session and then have it being reviewed by a proctor after?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great question. Previously, a lot of the proctoring that was done through SmartU proctoring was in person. A few years ago, that was a very common use case, maybe in a classroom where one proctor or an instructor hosted a session where all the students would come and the proctoring was done in person. That was the most common use case for proctoring. But now, obviously, with more work from homes and all of these different scenarios for users, you're actually able to use the SmartU proctoring service through Teams meetings, Zooms meetings, all of these type of screen share abilities where learners can then use one of these different webinar or screen share providers to be able to set up a meeting and do these type of exam sessions online together. So again, the user would get to the point in their exam where that code needs to be entered. They can jump onto a screen share with the instructor or the proctor and be able to have the proctor enter their proctor code and then monitor them either live through all of this or record the session to then submit to the instructor or the proctor afterwards. So definitely more use cases for proctoring when it comes to the SmartU proctored sessions, just as the world has changed over the last few years.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Chris. So we're going to open up for any other additional questions at this point. Open forum here. Would be happy to answer any questions you may have. We'll just give it a few minutes, or a minute at least. Can passports be used as ID, internationally recognized? Well, that's a great question. It really is based on your own rule set for this. Again, most government issued passports meeting the requirement will go for that. And again, it's based on your and or the requirement put out either by government or the organization or certification piece. So
just to jump on that one too, Alan, really quickly. So with the Integrity Advocate integration, you do have the ability to customize rules. So we have seen some, institutions that are maybe schools and want to allow student IDs. It is government IDs that they really strive for. So passports would definitely be part of that as long as it has a picture. But you do have customizations that you can have where it's a specific university's ID or something along those lines.
Okay, now this is a good question here. Where is that video stored? It sounds like SmartU proctored sessions wouldn't meet provincial privacy requirements if the video is openly stored and shared. And you know what? That's a great question on that. I mean, there are ways, I guess, to have the video stored in a in a secured location. Of course, that would have to be, again, the video being submitted and then being stored in a secured location after the fact. But you know, I won't profess to know all the provincial privacy requirements and what that means. But again, I mean, there are ways that can meet that requirement.
The best use case for SmarterU proctored exams is live, whether that's in person or through webinar, but it's live.
Yeah.
It then removes the need for having to record the session afterwards. It still gives lots of flexibility if you're doing it through a webinar or a Teams meeting or something like that, because you are able to do it on different schedules. But then it also removes any of those privacy concerns where it comes to recording the videos, right? If that's not something that is needed, then you are able to stay away from that side of it.
Perfect. Now the question is, how long do admins have to override an enrollment that is showing as invalid? Is there a time limit on this? Would you be able to answer that one, Chris?
Yeah, great question. So no time limit. So the enrollments and that override is all based on the quiz within the course. So we're able to override back and forth a few different ways if needed, but there is no expiry. Once that override is put into place, it then will refresh the enrollment status to take in effect the change that was made. So great question.
So integrity advocate would be a better choice by a privacy standpoint, I assume. And I don't want to make an assumptions, but I mean, meeting a requirement of the recorded session and being in a secure location, or you know, stored securely, absolutely. I know integrity advocate is very high on the security element of things. Just give it a few seconds here. If someone fails a quiz, can they retake a proctored quiz right away in the same enrollment?
Yeah, so there's two different ways to fail a quiz, right? You can fail it based on the actual score, you know, not meeting those requirements, or you can fail the proctored version of it. So like all of our online quizzes, you have the different settings available to you to how many retries a user has. A proctored session though is based on that enrollment. So if I've failed the proctored session, I would need a new enrollment into it. Whereas if I failed the quiz, I can retake the quiz right away, still part of that same proctored session.
Great question. Just give it a few more seconds here to see if we have any more. Doesn't appear to be any further questions. So I want to thank everyone for attending today's session. I just want to make note here, next month, a very special presentation on our AutoLearn product, and presented by a very special guest, Dan Belhassan, president of Neovation. So I'm looking forward to that one. Thank you again for attending. Look for the follow-up email with the recording, and hope to see you all in our next month's presentation. Thank you again.